The lights in the Great Hall of Nexus Prime burned bright as 12 different alien species sat around the massive circular table. Each representative looked different from the others. Some had scales, others had fur, and a few glowed with their own light. But they all shared one thing. They all looked down on the small blue planet called Earth. High Counselor Veltarix stood up slowly. His tall, thin body cast a long shadow across the polished floor. His 4 eyes blinked in sequence, as he spoke in the universal language that all council members used. "We are here today to discuss the human problem," Veltarix said. His voice carried across the room without any help from machines. "These creatures have become too dangerous to ignore." The other council members nodded their heads or made whatever movement their species used to show agreement. They had been watching Earth for 50 years now, ever since humans had first left their home planet. What they saw worried them greatly. "They fight each other constantly," said Counselor Zephyra, whose blue skin shimmered like water. "Even now, with space travel, they still have wars on their homeworld." "Worse than that," added Counselor Morden, his rocky skin grinding as he moved. "They enjoy fighting. They make entertainment from violence. They teach their young ones about war like it is something to be proud of." Veltarix activated the holographic display in the center of the table. Images of human history appeared in the air. Battles from ancient times, world wars, and recent conflicts played out in front of the council members. Many of them looked away. "No species in the galaxy has such a violent past," Veltarix continued. "Most of us learned to live in peace before we ever left our home worlds. Others were helped by peaceful species who taught us better ways. But humans, they reached for the stars with blood on their hands." The display changed to show human space settlements, military bases on the moon, weapon platforms around Mars, and armed ships patrolling the outer planets. Even their civilian ships carried weapons. They have been in space for only 50 years, and already they build weapons everywhere they go, Veltarix said. "What will they do when they meet other species? What will they do when they want something we have?" Counselor Yithana, whose body was made of pure energy, pulsed with worry. "The ancient records speak of species like this. The destroyer wars happened because violent species were allowed to grow too strong. Billions died across the galaxy." "That is exactly why we must act now," Veltarix said firmly, "before they become too powerful to stop." The council spent the next few hours making their decision. It was not hard. Every member agreed that humans were too dangerous to let loose in the galaxy. They would give Earth an ultimatum: surrender, or be destroyed. Far away, on the orbital station called New Sol, Captain Jinwoo Park was having a normal day. He was checking reports from the patrol ships when his communication officer called out. "Sir, we are getting a signal from deep space. It is using the old first contact protocols." Jinwoo walked over to the communication station. He was a tall man with short black hair and serious eyes. Like most people in the Earth Defense Force, he had trained his whole life for the day when aliens would finally contact Earth. "Put it on the main screen," he ordered. The image that appeared made everyone on the bridge go quiet. Veltarix looked down at them with his 4 alien eyes. When he spoke, the computer translated his words into Korean, then into every human language. "Greetings, humans of Earth. I am High Counselor Veltarix of the Galactic Council. We represent 12 species and thousands of worlds. We have been watching your species for many years." Jinwoo felt his heart beating faster. This was it. First contact with aliens. But something in the alien's voice made him nervous. "Your species has shown a level of violence that concerns us greatly," Veltarix continued. "You fight constant wars. You solve problems with weapons. You celebrate death and destruction. This cannot be allowed to spread to the galaxy." The alien paused, and his 4 eyes seemed to look directly at Jinwoo through the screen. "Therefore, the Galactic Council gives you this choice. You have 72 of your hours to make your decision. First, you must stop all expansion beyond your solar system. Second, You must surrender all military weapons and ships to Council forces. Third, you must accept protectorate status under Council supervision. We will govern your species and teach you peaceful ways. Jinwoo felt anger rising in his chest. The alien was talking to humans like they were children who had misbehaved. If you refuse these terms, Veltarix said, we will use force to make you comply. Our fleets are already moving toward your system. Choose wisely, humans, peace or destruction. The choice is yours. The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in complete silence. Jinwoo immediately contacted Earth. Within minutes, he was talking to Admiral Tae-ho Lee at Defense Command Headquarters in Seoul. Did you see the transmission, Admiral? Jinwoo asked. The whole world saw it, Tae-ho replied. His old face looked tired but determined. Every news station picked it up. Every government leader is calling for emergency meetings. What are your orders, sir? Stand by. We are calling everyone in. The president wants to meet with the full defense council in 2 hours. While Jinwoo waited, Dr. Na-young Kim was working, frantically in her lab on Luna. As Earth's top expert on alien life, she had always dreamed of first contact, but not like this. She pulled up everything the transmission had told them about the Galactic Council, 12 species, thousands of worlds. They had been watching Earth for decades without making contact. Why now? She asked herself out loud. What changed? She began analyzing the aliens' words and behavior. The way Veltarix spoke suggested he truly believed humans were dangerous. But dangerous to whom? And why? Na-young started searching through human history, looking for patterns. What she found surprised her. Every great period of human advancement had come during or after times of conflict. War drove innovation. Competition drove exploration. Struggle drove growth. Maybe that was what scared the aliens. Not that humans were violent, but that human violence led to human progress. 2 hours later, President Mi-jin Choi sat in the secure conference room deep under Seoul. Around the table sat Admiral Tae-ho Lee, General Kyung-soo Jeon, and commanders Dong-hyun Kang, along with civilian leaders and top scientists. The aliens have given us an ultimatum, President Choi said simply. Surrender or fight. I want to hear from everyone before we decide. Admiral Lee spoke first. Our forces are strong, but we do not know how strong they are. They claim to represent thousands of worlds. Numbers do not always win wars, General Jeon replied. We have advantages they might not expect. Commander Kang nodded. Human military history shows that smaller forces can defeat larger ones with the right tactics and motivation. Dr. Kim, attending by video link from Luna, added her thoughts. I have been studying their message. These aliens seem to have no understanding of human nature. They expect us to simply give up when threatened. President Choi looked around the table. So, what is our answer? The room was quiet for a moment. Then Admiral Lee spoke. We are human, he said simply. We do not surrender to threats. One by one, each person in the room agreed. The vote was unanimous. Commander Kang was chosen to send the reply. He looked directly into the camera and spoke clearly. To the Galactic Council and High Counselor Veltarix, we have received your ultimatum. We reject your terms completely. Earth is not interested in your protection or your supervision. We govern ourselves. If you want to take our freedom, come and try. We will be waiting. The message was sent on all frequencies, ensuring the aliens would receive it quickly. On Nexus Prime, Veltarix could not believe what he was hearing. In 10,000 years of Council history, no species had ever refused their ultimatum. Every race had chosen peace over destruction. They must not understand, Counselor Zephyra said. Perhaps we should explain again that resistance is useless. But Veltarix was beginning to realize something terrible. The humans did understand. They knew they were outgunned and outnumbered. They simply did not care. For the first time in his long life, the High Counselor felt afraid. The Council fleets came out of hyperspace like a metal storm. Ships of 3 different species filled the space around Earth's solar system. The Vrex Empire brought their dark, angular warships. The Zephyrians arrived in smooth, curved vessels that seemed to flow like water. The ethereal collective flew ships that looked more like floating crystals than machines. Fleet Admiral Kyung-Soo Jeon stood on the bridge of the Earth flagship Incheon's Pride. Through the massive windows, he could see the alien fleet spreading. Out in perfect formation, his tactical officers were counting the enemy ships. "Final count, sir," reported his aide. 297 vessels, ranging from small fighters to massive dreadnoughts. Kyung-Soo nodded calmly. He was an old man who had spent his life preparing for war. His gray hair was cut short in military style, and his steady hands showed no sign of fear. "Any communication from the aliens?" he asked. "Yes, sir. They are demanding we open a channel to discuss surrender terms." "Tell them we are busy right now," Kyung-Soo replied. "Maybe later." The bridge crew smiled despite their nervousness. Their admiral was not impressed by alien fleets, no matter how big they were. Meanwhile, on the hidden side of Luna, Dr. Haewon Song was working with barely any sleep. For the past 3 days, she had been studying every piece of alien communication they could intercept. What she found was very interesting. The aliens talked to each other like they were playing a chess game. Every move was planned. Every action was discussed. They seemed to think war was just a bigger version of their peaceful politics. "They have no idea what they are walking into," she said to her assistant. "Look at these tactical discussions. They are planning to position their ships in neat formations and ask us to surrender politely." "What do you mean, Doctor?" the young man asked. "They have never fought a real war," Haewon explained. "These species have been peaceful for so long, they have forgotten how to actually fight. They think showing force is the same as using force." She pulled up data on each alien species. The Vrex had not fought a war in over 1,000 years. The Zephyrians had never fought anyone. They had been uplifted by another peaceful species. The Ethereals used their mental powers for communication. "Not combat! Send this analysis to Fleet Command immediately," she ordered. "The Admiral needs to know what we are really facing." Back in space, the alien fleets were getting into position. Admiral Thekvar of the Vrex Empire was commanding the combined Council forces. He was confident this would be over quickly. "The humans have some orbital defenses," his tactical officer reported. "A few weapon platforms around their moon, some converted civilian ships. Nothing that can threaten our fleet." "Good," Thekvar replied. "Signal all ships to advance in formation. We will demonstrate our power and they will surrender." But Admiral Thekvar had made a mistake. He was looking for traditional military targets, big ships, obvious weapons, clear battle lines. He was not looking for what humans actually do when they fight. Lieutenant Colonel Sung-Min Park was Jin Woo's younger brother. He was smaller and quieter than Jin Woo, but he had the same determined eyes. Right now, he was floating in space inside a fighter so small that alien sensors could barely detect it. Sung-Min's squadron was hiding in the shadow of a small asteroid. Their ships were painted black and running on minimal power. To the aliens, they looked like space junk. "Scout ships are moving in," his wingman reported quietly. 3 Vrex vessels approaching the outer defense perimeter. "Remember the plan," Sung-Min said to his pilots. "We hit fast and hard, then disappear. Show them what humans do to uninvited guests." The Vrex scouts moved forward slowly, scanning for weapons and defenses. Their sensors were very advanced, but they were looking for big, obvious threats. They completely missed the tiny human fighters drifting silently nearby. "Now," Seung-min whispered. The human fighters came alive all at once. Their engines roared to full power, and they accelerated toward the alien scouts like bullets. The Vrex barely had time to react before the humans were on top of them. Human weapons were different from alien ones. Where the Council species used precise energy beams and guided missiles, Humans preferred simple, brutal firepower. Railguns fired metal slugs at incredible speed. Nuclear warheads exploded in bright flashes. The first Vrek scout died instantly, as railgun rounds tore through its hull. The second tried to turn and run, but human fighters were faster and more agile. It exploded in a ball of flame as nuclear missiles found their target. The third scout managed to send a warning signal before Sung Min's fighter caught it. His railgun rounds went through the alien ship like it was made of paper. All targets. Down, Sung Min reported. No human casualties. We are returning to base. On the Council command ship, Admiral Thekvar stared at his tactical display in shock. 3 of his scouts had been destroyed in less than 30 seconds. The humans had not asked for surrender. They had not tried to negotiate. They had simply killed his ships without warning. How? He asked his tactical officer. Where did the attack come from? Unknown, sir. Our sensors detected the human fighters only when they opened fire. They appeared to be hiding among the asteroids. Hiding? Thekvar was confused. Why would they hide? If they wanted to fight, why not face us directly? The tactical officer had no answer. In all of Council military history, enemies had always fought in organized formations with clear rules. This sudden, sneaky attack was completely new to them. While the Council tried to understand what had happened, Captain Yeon-Soo Han was preparing her own surprise. She commanded the Busan Deep, a ship that had started life as a submarine in Earth's oceans. When humans went to space, they had brought their naval experience with them. The Busan Deep was hiding in the ice fields of Neptune, far from the main battle. It was running silent, drifting like a piece of frozen rock. The alien sensors could not detect it among all the natural ice and debris. Target acquired, her weapons officer reported quietly. Zephyrian dreadnought, moving alone on the outer edge of their formation. Yeon-Soo studied the alien ship through her periscope. It was beautiful, with flowing lines and elegant curves. It looked more like art than a weapon of war. That would be its weakness. Load tubes 1 through 6 with nuclear torpedoes, she ordered. Set them for close proximity detonation. The Busan Deep crept closer to its target. The Zephyrian dreadnought had no idea it was being hunted. Its crew was probably discussing poetry or philosophy while humans prepared to kill them. Fire, Yeon-Soo said simply. 6 nuclear torpedoes left the submarine at high speed. They were designed to look like space debris until the last moment. The Zephyrian ship detected them only seconds before impact. The explosions lit up the ice fields like tiny suns. When the light faded, the beautiful alien dreadnought was a broken wreck, leaking atmosphere and spinning helplessly through space. Direct. Hit, the weapons officer reported. Target is destroyed. Take us deep, Yeon-Soo ordered. Back to the ice fields. Let them try to find us now. The Busan Deep disappeared back into Neptune's shadows, leaving the Council forces to wonder where the attack had come from. Admiral Thekvar was now facing a problem he had never encountered before. The humans were not fighting like civilized species. They were not forming battle lines or following proper military protocol. Instead, they were striking from hiding, killing his ships, and vanishing before he could respond. Sir, his communication officer called out, we are receiving a transmission from the human flagship. Put it on screen, Thekvar ordered. Maybe now the humans would see reason and surrender. Admiral Kyung-Soo Jeon appeared on the main display. He looked calm and relaxed, as if losing ships was a normal part of his day. Greetings, Council Fleet, Kyung-Soo said politely. I am Admiral Jeon of the Earth Defense Force. I wanted to thank you for visiting our solar system. Thank us? Thekvar was confused. Of course, Kyung-Soo smiled. It has been many years since we had proper target practice. Your ships make excellent practice targets. Very big, very slow, very easy to hit. The human admiral's smile disappeared, and his voice became cold as space. You came here to make us surrender. You thought we would be afraid of your big ships and pretty formations. You were wrong. We are not afraid of you. We are not impressed by you. And we are certainly not going to surrender to you. Kyung-soo leaned forward, staring directly at the alien commander. You want a war? You have one. But remember, you started this. When your ships burn and your crews die, remember that you chose this. You could have left us alone. Instead, you decided to threaten our home. The transmission ended, leaving Admiral Tekvar staring at a blank screen. For the first time in his military career, the Vrex commander realized he might have made a terrible mistake. These humans were not like other species. They did not fight for conquest or resources. They fought because someone had threatened their freedom, and they seemed to be very, very good at it. The real war was just beginning. Admiral Su-Jin Lim had read every book about war that humans had ever written. Sun Tzu, Clausewitz, Rommel, Patton, she knew them all. Now, facing an alien fleet that outnumbered Earth's forces 10-1, she was going to use everything those great generals had taught her. Activate Protocol Genghis, she ordered from the bridge of her command ship. Around her, the human fleet began to break apart. Instead of staying in neat formations like the aliens expected, Earth's ships scattered in every direction. Some headed toward the asteroid belt. Others dove toward the inner planets. A few seemed to be running away toward the outer system. Admiral Tekvar watched this with satisfaction. Look, they are running already. Their fleet is falling apart. But his tactical officer looked worried. Sir, our sensors are having trouble tracking all the human ships. They seem to be using some kind of stealth technology. It does not matter, Tekvar replied. We will hunt them down one by one. He had no idea that breaking apart was exactly what the humans wanted to do. Engineer Won-ho Kim was working in a converted mining station in the asteroid belt. Around him, dozens of civilian mining ships were being turned into weapons. His job was simple but terrible: turn peaceful workships into flying bombs. How many fusion reactors do we have? He asked his team. 47, sir. All from decommissioned. Power stations, Won-ho nodded grimly. Each reactor contained enough power to light up a city. When they exploded, they would take anything nearby with them, install them in the mining ships, remove all the safety systems, set them to overload on remote command. His assistant looked nervous. Sir, those ships will become suicide weapons. The pilots will be volunteers, Won-ho finished. And they will be heroes. Within hours, 47 mining ships had become the most dangerous weapons in human space. They looked harmless, just old workboats moving slowly through the asteroids. The aliens would never suspect them until it was too late. Meanwhile, Major Bo-Ram Yu was preparing for a different kind of mission. She led Earth's Special Forces team, soldiers trained for the most dangerous assignments. Today, they were going to do something that had never been done before: board an alien warship. Remember, she told her team as they suited up, these aliens have never faced borders. Their ships probably have no internal security. They think space battles are fought ship to ship, not person to person. Her soldiers checked their weapons and equipment. They carried modified railguns designed for close combat and suits of armor that could survive in space. Most importantly, they carried captured alien shuttlecraft that would get them close to enemy ships. The target is a Zephyrian command cruiser, Bo-Ram continued. Intelligence says it coordinates the battle, plans for their entire fleet. If we can capture or destroy it, their whole formation will fall apart. The team moved out in their stolen alien shuttle. To Council sensors, they looked like one of their own support craft. No one would question them until they were all ready. Inside the enemy ship, Dr. Chang-Min Oh was working on something even more unusual. As Earth's top physicist, he understood space and time in ways that the aliens had never explored. While they built elegant ships and precise weapons, humans had learned to bend the laws of physics themselves. Gravity weapon test number 7. He spoke into his recorder. Activating localized space-time distortion. In the empty space in front of his laboratory ship, reality twisted. A small area of space suddenly contained the gravity of a massive star. Nearby, asteroids were crushed instantly, pulled apart by forces that should not exist. Excellent, Changmin smiled. If this works on asteroids, imagine what it will do to alien ships flying in formation. His weapon could create artificial black holes that lasted just long enough to destroy anything nearby. The aliens had never seen anything like it because they had never needed to weaponize physics itself. But the most effective weapon was not physical at all. Communications officer Hyun-jung Seo had discovered that the council species could receive human video transmissions. More importantly, they seemed to be watching them. "Sir," she reported to Admiral Lim, "the aliens are intercepting our communications. They are seeing our news broadcasts, our movies, our historical documentaries." "Can we use that?" the Admiral asked. Hyun-jung smiled coldly. "I have been sending them selected footage from human history, battle scenes from our worst wars, documentary, footage of what humans do to enemies who threaten our homes." She had been broadcasting scenes from World War II, showing human soldiers fighting to the death rather than surrender. Videos from Vietnam, where farmers with simple weapons had defeated a modern army. Footage from recent conflicts, where human fighters had chosen to die rather than give up. The effect on alien crews was immediate and terrifying. These peaceful species had never seen such violence. They could not understand how humans could be so calm about death and destruction. On council ships, crews were beginning to desert. Alien soldiers who had signed up to police a primitive species found themselves facing creatures that seemed to enjoy war. The first test of human tactics came when a group of Rex destroyers tried to corner some scattered human ships near Mars. The aliens moved in perfect formation, just like their textbooks taught them. They flew directly into Won-ho Kim's trap. The mining ships that had been drifting innocently through space suddenly changed course. Their fusion reactors began to overload as they accelerated toward the alien formation. "What are those ships doing?" the Vrex commander asked. "Are they trying to ram us?" His tactical officer was checking sensors frantically. "Sir, those ships are showing massive energy buildups. Their power cores are going critical." The commander finally understood. But it was too late. 47 flying bombs struck the Vrex formation at nearly the speed of light. The explosions were visible from Earth itself. When the light faded, 12 alien destroyers had been completely destroyed. The few survivors were badly damaged and retreating in panic. Admiral Tekvar received the battle report with growing horror. "They destroyed their own ships to attack us? What kind of species does that?" His aide had no answer. The concept of suicide attacks was completely foreign to council thinking. They could not understand how anyone would choose death over retreat. While the council tried to make sense of kamikaze tactics, Major Boram Yu's team was putting their own plan into action. Their stolen shuttle approached the Zephyrian command cruiser without being challenged. "Landing bay is open," her pilot reported. "They are not even scanning us." "Why would they?" Boram replied. "They think we are one of their own ships." The shuttle landed in the alien ship's bay. Boram's team quickly took control of the area, stunning the few alien workers they found. The Zephyrians had no security guards. The idea that enemies might board their ship had never occurred to them. "Team 1, take the bridge. Team 2, engineering. Team 3, communications," Boram ordered. "Remember, we want prisoners for interrogation." The human soldiers moved through the alien ship like ghosts. The Zephyrians they encountered were completely helpless. These peaceful creatures had never learned to fight hand to hand. They could not understand why strange aliens in armor were running through their ship. Within 20 minutes, Boram's team had control of the entire vessel. The Zephyrian crew was locked in their own brig, and human soldiers were studying their computers and communication systems. "This is incredible," reported the team's technical specialist. "Their security is almost non-existent. I can access their entire fleet communication network from here." Bo Ram smiled grimly. "Then let us listen to what they are saying to each other." What they heard was even better than they had hoped. The alien fleet commanders were arguing among themselves. They could not agree on tactics because none of them had ever faced an enemy like humans. Dr. Chang Min chose that moment to test his gravity weapon on actual targets. A formation of ethereal collective ships was moving through space in a perfect diamond pattern, just like their tactical manuals required. Chang Min activated his weapon from a safe distance. Space twisted around the alien formation, creating a gravity well that pulled the ships together like iron filings to a magnet. The elegant ethereal vessels, designed for grace and beauty, crumpled like paper as impossible forces crushed them. In seconds, 12 ships became a single ball of twisted metal. "Gravity weapon test successful," Chang Min reported calmly. "The aliens appear to have no defense against localized space-time manipulation." Admiral Tekvar was now facing a complete breakdown of his fleet's morale. His ships were being destroyed by weapons that should not exist, tactics that made no sense, and enemies who seemed to appear from nowhere. "Send a message to the Council," he ordered. "Request immediate reinforcements. All available fleets." His communication officer looked nervous. "Sir, that would mean calling up the reserve fleets from every Council world. The politicians will not approve such a massive escalation." "Then the politicians can explain to history why the Council fell, because we faced humans with inadequate forces," Tekvar replied angrily. But even as he sent his desperate requests for help, the Admiral knew the truth. His fleet was not losing because it was outnumbered. It was losing because these humans fought wars in ways that the Council had never imagined. The emergency session of the Galactic Council had been going on for 6 hours. High Counselor Veltarix looked older than his 1,000 years as he listened to the reports from the Sol system. 3 Council fleets had been destroyed or scattered by a single species that had been in space for less than 50 years. "This is impossible," Counselor Mordoun said, his rocky voice filled with disbelief. "Our combined fleets represent the military power of thousands of worlds. How can one primitive planet defeat us?" Counselor Zephara's blue skin had turned pale. "The reports make no sense. They say humans use suicide attacks, that they hide weapons inside civilian ships, that they can manipulate gravity itself." "The reports are accurate," Veltarix said grimly. "I have reviewed all the battle data. These humans do not fight like any species we have encountered. They fight like—" He paused, searching for the right words. "Like the ancient destroyer races from our oldest histories." A chill went through the council chamber. The destroyer wars had happened 10,000 years ago, before most current species had achieved spaceflight. Entire star systems had been wiped out by species that lived only for war and conquest. "You are suggesting these humans are another destroyer race?" asked Counselor Yathana, her energy form flickering with worry. "I am not suggesting it," Veltarix replied. "I am stating it as fact. We are facing a species that has evolved for war. Every aspect of their culture, their technology, their thinking, all of it is designed for conflict." The council fell silent. They had thought they were dealing with a simple police action against an unruly species. Now they realized they might be facing an existential threat to galactic civilization. "What do you recommend?" Counselor Mordoun asked quietly. Veltarix stood up slowly. "Total mobilization. Every fleet from every member world. Every ship that can carry weapons. We end this now before they become too strong to stop." "How many ships would that be?" Zephara asked. 50,000 vessels, Veltarix replied. "The largest fleet ever assembled in galactic history." On Earth, Intelligence Chief So-Young Park was reading the intercepted Council communications with growing alarm. Her team had been monitoring alien signals ever since the war began. And what they had discovered was terrifying. "Admiral Lee, you need to see this immediately," she called across the secure command center. Admiral Tae-ho Lee walked over to her station. His old face was lined with exhaustion from days of coordinating Earth's defense, but his eyes were still sharp. "What have you found?" he asked. "The Council is mobilizing everything they have," So-young replied. "Every ship from every member world. Our intelligence estimates put the fleet size at 50,000 vessels." Tae-ho was quiet for a long moment. 50,000, he repeated softly. "That is 10 times larger than what we just fought." "It gets worse," So-young continued. "They are not planning to capture Earth anymore. The communications make it clear. They intend to completely destroy our planet and make an example of us. How long do we have?" 6 months until their fleet is fully assembled and reaches our system. Tae-ho nodded slowly. "Then we have 6 months to prepare for the end of the world." Within hours, President Mi-jin Choi had authorized Project Mandate, the largest military buildup in human history. Every factory on Earth and the colonies was converted to weapons production. Every civilian was trained for war. Every resource was directed toward one goal: survival. Dr. Kim's research teams worked around the clock studying captured alien technology. They had learned that Council weapons were actually inferior to human ones in many ways. The aliens had focused on precision and efficiency, while humans had focused on raw destructive power. "Their shields can stop energy weapons very effectively," she reported to the military leadership. "But they were never designed to handle kinetic weapons, solid projectiles moving at high speed." "What about their armor?" Admiral Lee asked. "Strong against heat and radiation, weak against physical impact. They have never had to deal with weapons that simply smash through defenses. This led to the development of human dreadnoughts, massive ships designed around a single principle. Where alien vessels were elegant and multifunctional, human warships were ugly, brutal weapons platforms that existed only to destroy enemies." Captain Jin-woo Park stood on the bridge of the first completed dreadnought, the Seoul Ascendant. The ship was nothing like alien vessels. It had thick armor, heavy weapons, and no consideration for comfort or beauty. It looked like what it was, a machine built for killing. "How many of these can we build?" he asked the chief engineer. 50, maybe 60 if we strip every civilian ship for parts," came the reply. "But, sir, 50 ships against 50,000? "Numbers are not everything," Jin-woo replied. "The aliens still think this is a police action. They expect us to surrender when we see their big fleet. They have no idea what we are really planning." That plan was being developed by his brother, Colonel Seung-min Park. The younger Park had been promoted after his success in the early battles, and now he was creating something the galaxy had never seen: a ghost fleet. The ghost fleet consisted of ships that looked exactly like Council vessels, but were crewed by humans and armed with human weapons. They would infiltrate alien territory and strike at military targets while the main Council fleet was moving toward Earth. "The beauty of this plan," Seung-min explained to his pilots, "is that they will never suspect us. We look like their own ships. We use their identification codes. We speak their languages. By the time they realize what is happening, we will have crippled their ability to support their main fleet." Meanwhile, Dr. Haewon Song had made a discovery that changed everything. While studying captured alien biology samples, she had found something shocking about Council species. "They have been peaceful for so long that they have lost the ability to be truly violent," she reported to the military council. "Not just culturally, biologically. Their brains no longer produce the chemicals that allow for sustained aggression." "What does that mean?" President Choi asked. "It means they literally cannot understand what we are doing. When they see human battle footage, it causes them psychological trauma. They cannot process the idea that any species would choose to fight to the death rather than surrender. This led to the development of psychological warfare on a scale never before attempted. Human communications teams began broadcasting to every council world, showing them exactly what humans were capable of. The broadcasts included historical footage of human wars, but also new material created specifically to terrify alien populations. Videos of human soldiers training for combat, human children learning about war, human civilians preparing to fight to the death rather than surrender. The effect was immediate and devastating. On dozens of council worlds, civilian populations began demanding that their governments withdraw from the war. These peaceful species could not bear the thought of fighting creatures that seemed to live for violence. But the most important development was happening in secret, led by Commander Dong Hyun Kang and his diplomatic team. They had been making contact with species that had been conquered by the Council centuries ago, worlds that had been forced to join the galactic government and had never been given a choice. Many of these species remember what freedom was like, Kang reported. They have been waiting for someone strong enough to challenge the Council's authority. How many potential allies are we talking about? Admiral Lee asked. 17 species representing over 100 worlds. They cannot fight the Council openly, but they can provide intelligence, supplies, even sabotage. The alien rebellion was coordinated through secret communications networks that the Council had no idea existed. While the Council prepared their great fleet to destroy Earth, their own empire was beginning to fall apart from within. President Choi stood in the Situation Room, looking at displays showing human preparations around the solar system. Every planet, every moon, every asteroid had been turned into a fortress. The space between worlds was filled with weapons platforms, minefields, and hidden bases. If they want Earth, she said quietly, they will have to pay a price that the galaxy will remember forever. But even as humanity prepared for the greatest battle in galactic history, there were signs that the war was already changing the galaxy itself. Species that had been peaceful for millennia were being forced to remember what conflict meant. The Council's authority was being questioned for the first time in 10,000 years, and in the depths of space, human Ghost Fleet ships were beginning their raids on Council territory, striking at targets that the aliens had never thought to defend. The war that the Council thought would be a simple police action was becoming something much larger. It was becoming a revolution that would determine whether the galaxy would be ruled by those who had always been strong or by those who were willing to fight for freedom. Earth had 6 months to prepare for 50,000 enemy ships. But those 50,000 ships belonged to species that had never faced a real war. They were about to learn what humans had known for their entire history, that the willingness to fight is more important than the ability to fight, and humans had never been more willing to fight than they were now, with their homeworld and their freedom at stake. The Council fleet arrived at the Centauri system like a moving constellation, 50,000 ships of every size and design, representing 12 species and thousands of worlds. High Counselor Veltarix stood on the bridge of the massive command, Vessel Eternal Peace, watching his sensors count the human forces waiting for them. "How many ships do the humans have?" he asked his tactical officer. "Approximately 300 vessels, sir, plus numerous fixed defenses throughout the system." Veltarix nodded with satisfaction. 160 to 1 odds. Even these violent humans cannot overcome such numbers. But Admiral Su Jin Lim, commanding the human fleet from the super dreadnought Busan Eternal, was not concerned about numbers. She had spent 6 months turning the Centauri system into the most deadly trap in galactic history. "All stations report ready," her aide announced. "The Ghost Fleet has completed their raids and is moving to support positions. Allied forces from 17 liberated species are standing by." Su Jin looked out at the massive alien fleet and smiled coldly. "Then let us show them what humans do to bullies." The battle began when engineer Wonho Kim activated his final project. For 6 months, His teams had been accelerating asteroids to incredible speeds using massive engines hidden throughout the outer system. These rocks, each weighing millions of tons, now flew toward the Council fleet at significant fractions of light speed. The aliens detected the incoming projectiles too late to avoid them. Their sensors had been designed to track ships and energy, weapons, not naturally camouflaged rocks moving faster than most missiles. The first asteroids struck the forward elements of the Council fleet like the fist of an angry god. Ships that had survived for centuries simply disappeared in explosions of light and metal. The beautiful formations that the aliens loved so much became a liability as debris from destroyed vessels tore through their neighbors. Impossible, Veltarix gasped as his tactical display showed dozens of ships disappearing. How did they accelerate asteroids to such speeds? His science officer was frantically checking readings. Sir, the humans appear to have been preparing this system as a weapon for months. Every large rock in the outer belt has been converted into a kinetic projectile. Before Veltarix could respond, Dr. Changmin-O activated his gravity weapons. Throughout the Centauri system, hidden devices created localized distortions in space-time. Alien ships flying in tight formations suddenly found themselves being pulled together by artificial gravity wells. The Council had always fought in organized groups, with ships supporting each other in neat patterns. Now those same formations became death traps as gravity pulled vessels into crushing collisions. Their ships are being dragged together by some kind of gravitational manipulation, the tactical officer reported in panic. We have never seen technology like this. Veltarix was beginning to understand that humanity had spent 6 months doing something the Council had never imagined, turning an entire star system into a weapon. The next phase of the battle began, when Captain Yansu Han led the submarine corps in their greatest operation. 200 ships that had once sailed Earth's oceans now moved through space like hunters in a 3-dimensional sea. They emerged from hyperspace shadows, from behind. Planets from within asteroid fields. The aliens had no defense against enemies that could appear anywhere and strike without warning. Target the command ships, Yansu ordered as her fleet struck at the heart of the Council formation. Cut off their ability to coordinate. Human torpedoes, armed with Dr. Changmin's quantum tunneling technology, passed through alien shields like they did not exist. They exploded inside enemy vessels, bypassing every defense the Council had developed over millennia. Admiral Thekvar, commanding one of the Council's sub-fleets, watched in horror as his flagship's bridge filled with smoke from internal explosions. "How did their weapons get through our shields?" he demanded. "Unknown, sir," his damaged tactical station reported. "The human weapons appear to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Our shields cannot stop them. But the most devastating attack came from an unexpected source. Colonel Sung-Min Park's Ghost Fleet had spent months raiding Council territory, but their final mission was not to attack supply lines or military bases. Their mission was to free slaves. Throughout Council space, the Ghost Fleet had been contacting species that had been conquered centuries ago. They had provided weapons, training, and most importantly, hope. Now, as the great Council fleet fought, at Centauri, their homeworlds erupted in revolution. "Sir," Veltarix's communication officer called out urgently, "we are receiving emergency signals from 17 member worlds. They report widespread uprisings by their subject populations." "Impossible," Veltarix replied. "Those species have been pacified for centuries. The rebels appear to be using human weapons and tactics, sir. And they are being led by ships that look like ours, but are crewed by humans." For the first time in his long life, Veltarix realized that humans had done something unthinkable. They had not just prepared to defend their own world. They had organized a galaxy-wide rebellion against Council authority. The climax of the battle came when Captain Jinwoo Park led the Soul Ascendant and 50 other human dreadnoughts in a direct assault on the Council command section. These ugly, brutal ships cut through alien formations like knives through silk. Human weapons were simple but effective. Where alien ships used elegant energy beams, humans used railguns that fired solid metal at incredible speeds. Where aliens used precise guided missiles, humans used nuclear warheads that exploded with the power of stars. All ships, concentrate fire on the enemy flagship, Jinwoo ordered. It is time to end this. The Soul Ascendant and her sisters opened fire with everything they had. Railgun rounds tore through alien armor like paper. Nuclear missiles turned elegant council vessels into expanding balls of plasma. Gravity weapons crushed ships that had sailed between the stars for centuries. High Counselor Veltarix watched his fleet dissolving around him. Half his ships were destroyed or disabled. The rest were scattered and fleeing. His beautiful formation had become a field of wreckage and flames. "Sir," his communication officer said quietly, "the humans are broadcasting on all frequencies." President Mi Jin Choi's image appeared on screens throughout the council fleet. She looked calm and determined as she delivered humanity's final ultimatum. "To the forces of the Galactic Council," she began, "you came to our system to destroy us. You believed that your numbers and your technology would be enough to defeat a species you considered primitive and violent." She paused, letting her words sink in. "You were wrong. We are not primitive. We are experienced. We are not randomly violent. We are very good at war. And we are not alone. 17 species that you conquered and enslaved have risen up in rebellion. Your empire is falling apart as I speak." The president leaned forward, her eyes hard as steel. "The Galactic Council will surrender immediately and unconditionally. You will release all conquered species and grant them full independence. You will disarm your fleets and submit to a new galactic government based on equality, not domination." She smiled, but it was not a friendly expression. "If you refuse, we will continue this war until every council ship is destroyed and every council world is free. The choice is yours." Veltarix looked around his damaged bridge. His fleet was beaten. His empire was in rebellion, and his species faced extinction if the fighting continued. "Signal all council forces to cease fire," he said quietly. "We surrender." The formal surrender took place on the neutral station of Nexus Prime, where the war had begun. But instead of the council dictating terms to humanity, it was President Choi who sat at the head of the Great Table. Dr. Na Young Kim worked with representatives from 19 species to establish the new Galactic Democratic Assembly. Unlike the old council, this government would be based on voluntary membership and mutual respect. Admiral Tae-ho Lee helped former council subjects establish their own defense forces, teaching them human military doctrine and tactics. Never again would peaceful species be helpless against aggressors. The transformation of galactic society took years, but the changes were remarkable. Species that had been slaves for centuries learned to govern themselves again. Worlds that had been strip-mined for resources were restored and returned to their original inhabitants. Captain Jinwoo Park, now promoted to admiral, stood on the bridge of humanity's newest ship as it patrolled the outer rim. The vessel was called New Hope, and its mission was to protect the young democracies that were forming throughout former council space. "Sir," his young communication officer asked, "do you think the galaxy is safer now?" Jinwoo thought about the question for a long moment. The old council had kept peace through fear and overwhelming force. The new galactic government was messier, with arguments and disagreements between member species, but it was also more honest. Species were free to choose their own paths. Conflicts were resolved through negotiation, not conquest. And everyone knew that if another species tried to build an empire through force, humanity would be there to stop them. "The galaxy is safer because we are dangerous," Jinwoo finally answered. "That is the paradox the council never understood. Sometimes the best way to keep peace is to be very good at war."